Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is King County Regional Homeless Authority regular meeting of the Continuum of Care Board and Advisory Committee. I'd like to start us off with the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Marvin. My name is Christy Hamilton, Advisory Board Continuum of Care, Lived Experience Coalition member. I am a member of the Assiniboine Sioux Confederated Tribes, also the Salish Kootenai Federated Tribes. It's an honor to be here today with my colleagues. I'd like to point out today that this week marks Indigenous Peoples Week. Monday was Indigenous Peoples Day, so renamed. I'd like to take a moment to honor that and what that means. Just take a moment of silence, please. Today I'm up here in Bellingham. It's a traditional site of the Lummi peoples, while the rest of you, I believe, are on the traditional lands of the Duwamish people, the ancestral lands of the Duwamish people, who have held their own down there for the last 10,000 years since the last ice age. We acknowledge that it is with their grace, their wisdom, and their permission that we meet and come together to ensure that everybody is homed and that we have the same agenda, that we work on the same team. It's important that there is a sense of togetherness for this coalition, that we work as one, that we work as family, that we work as brothers and sisters together for the same goals. That's an utmost Native tradition. And I'd encourage you all to think of that and take that to heart today as we come to this important meeting where we vote on a snowfall today. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Christy. Catherine, could you do a roll call?
Can definitely do that. Emma Bowman.
Here.
Reverend Dr. Kelly Brown.
Here.
Jenna Burgon. Lise Castro.
Present.
Shanae Colston.
Here.
Brianna Franco. Marvin Futrell.
Here.
Christy Hamilton. Christy? Okay.
I am here.
Okay, thank you. Marisol Hopper. Benjamin Miss.
Here.
Noreen Oneida. Bear with me here. Linda Peoples. Christina S.
Here.
Thank you. Robin Tasuda. Karen Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. Sherry Tillman.
Here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 members present. Quorum is met.
Thank you, Catherine. We also want to welcome our KCRHA staffers that will be presenting today. Shanae, would you like to go over the plan for what we're here to do today?
So today, we're here voting on the SNOFO, right? The documents were emailed out. I hope everybody had a chance to at least review a little bit, understanding, and bring your any last minute comments, questions, concerns, and complaints here, right? This is not a meeting for those. We'll be meeting later on to discuss that, those little nuances and challenges that we faced as a board. So that's not what today's meeting is. We're just really trying to stick to the agenda of voting on this special NOFO funding for those four that we had agreed on the ranking earlier. And so is there any questions that people need resolved beforehand? All right.
Thank you, Shanae. Now I would like to open up public comment. As is our practice, public comment will remain open throughout the meeting, but if we have folks in the gallery, please let's identify them, and public comment starts now.
At this time, I see no hands raised in the attendees, nor do I see any hands raised in the panelists.
If someone could keep an eye on the chat, if folks join us late and want to offer public comment, please let me know. That moves us into the heart of this meeting. I'll turn it over to Jen and Kelsey for the snowfall review.
Thank you all so much. Welcome everyone. I think everyone knows me, but just in case, my name is Jen Ozawa, use she, her pronouns, and I am the Procurement and Policy Manager at KCRHA. I'll turn it over to Kelsey to do a quick introduction.
Thanks, Jen. I'm Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, Program Performance Manager with KCRHA. Jen and I have been co-leading the NOFO and SNOFO processes, and saw a question about the links that are broken. I'm alerting our communication specialist right now to try and get those fixed as soon as possible.
Thank you. So keep an eye on the website. We are working on that right now. I'm going to share my screen. I did prepare just a really brief sort of visual for folks who digest information better that way. Can everyone see the screen okay? Yeah, oh, okay. So our goal again today is to review the consolidated application and the unsheltered plan, which is part of the consolidated application for the SNOFO or special NOFO, which is new money that HUD has recently released to, excuse me, to COCs nationwide. So before we kind of jump in, I just want to kind of ground us with the timeline again as a reminder of sort of the whole process and how fast it was. Again, not our most ideal timeline to work with, but in order to ensure we can compete with HUD's new money, this is the timeline that we've been sort of under, and where we're at kind of and what's next. So we had applications. Again, thank you all for your review and approval of the rating and ranking. Those applications were submitted by organizations in September 20th. They had about 3 weeks to prepare their applications. We had a really robust 13-member panel, rater review panel. Many of the folks on that rater review panel were individuals with lived experience. And so I think we got really great sort of review and rating and ranking from a perspective of folks with lived experience of homelessness. Let's see, we had our, as you all know, we had the special meeting. It was actually the monthly meeting on October 5th. That's where we looked at the applicants. And then with that, since then, we have been working on the next piece of the SNOFO application, which is the actual grant that is also referred to as the consolidated application. Within that is the unsheltered homelessness plan, which is sort of a strategic plan that the COC, Seattle King County, the Seattle King County COC is communicating to HUD that we will perform basically over the next at least 3 years, if not longer, if continue to be awarded. Today is when we are hoping to get your feedback and final approval, if you all approve on that, both components of that consolidated application, so the overarching application and the unsheltered plan. We hope to submit the application in its entirety a couple days early in advance of the HUD deadline. The HUD deadline, the hard deadline is October 20th. We're hoping to submit it on the 18th. just in case there's any kind of technical, glitches or anything like that. Any questions about kind of where we're at in the timeline before we move on? I want to make sure it's clear and okay, great. From there, it'll be a matter of sort of waiting. HUD will go through a similar process as we did with the local applications, in that they will be reviewing applications nationwide, kind of rating and ranking across the nation, determining awards, and then we anticipate awards being announced sometime late 2023. Okay. So just a quick update, especially folks who were not here. I think most everyone was, but these are the applications that are going to be included as part of the consolidated application. So these are the organizations that the COC is moving forward to request funding for. I bring this up because it's important that the proposals that these organizations submitted basically align with our COC consolidated application and then the unsheltered plan as well. It should all kind of be interconnected and make sense. So before we share and kind of dive into the actual documents, just wanted to highlight a couple things. So on the draft consolidated application, we'll look at that one first. You'll probably notice a lot of the content from that application is very similar to the one that we just looked at, or the process that we just went through for the NOFO renewal process. A lot of it is just is copy and pasted. And HUD actually advised applicants for this NOFO to do just that, just copy and paste a lot of the repetitive questions to show alignment with the whole overarching COC NOFO plan. So wanted to kind of preface that in case you're like, wait a minute, this looks the same. It probably is, because a lot of the questions are the same. Kelsey, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the consolidated application itself is definitely repetitive from the initial NOFO. This was a little bit of a gift that HUD granted us, given that the biggest part of this whole application is that 15-page plan on addressing unsheltered homelessness. So much of the consolidated application is quite repetitive from what we've already seen. There's, I think, 2 questions that had one additional point that they wanted us to address, but they were really similar to the primary questions that we already had answered previously. So one was about formal partnerships with school districts and education providers. So we included a little bit more detail about some specific partnerships and memorandums of understanding that providers within the COC have. And then there was another question on specific outreach that we have done to bring in folks with lived experience to the advisory board. So we wrote a little bit about that as well. And those were, I think, the only 2 additional questions that we saw.
Great, thank you, Kelsey. Okay, so we just wanted to highlight those points and then highlight these other points related to the unsheltered homelessness, the plan to address unsheltered homelessness. So there are 2 separate documents. They'll be included as attachments to the overall HUD grant, and we'll review both of those things together. I want to real quick pause and go to our chat. Someone asks who on our COC was involved in the ranking process. There was no one from the COC per se involved in the ranking process, but several members of the LEC were participated in the ranking process. I believe there was a call or request, hopefully, to the AC, we're asking about involvement for that. But members from the LEC were the names that were put forth. All right, so to focus on the plan for unsheltered homelessness before we dive into it, just a couple highlights. Again, this plan is sort of our strategic plan, specifically focusing on what our COC is going to do to address unsheltered homelessness. This grant period is for 3 years, so we can assume that HUD is going to expect that this plan be delivered over the 3-year period and possibly beyond, if awarded more funds or continued funds. And then as far as who has helped to draft the unsheltered homelessness plan, Kelsey has met one-on-one with various members of the LEC and had folks co-create and co-write some of the sections there. We have a morning meeting, 8 a.m. Friday mornings. Please join us. We welcome anybody to join that work group. Has also kind of, we had a working session at one point, kind of walking through the unsheltered plan with our work group. And then we've had a lot. This has been a very big collaborative effort to put together this plan. Which included a lot of various members at KCRHA, a lot of different staff members and teams. Because it's specifically addressing unsheltered homelessness, we worked with our colleagues who have that expertise. So our outreach staff, the whole outreach team we consulted with them, HMIS staff and folks that work with the data side of things, our CEA staff that works with the coordinated entry system, and various different other individuals across the organization. Really is a kind of open invite to all hands on deck in creating this plan. Want to pause there, just acknowledge the chat real quick.
Somebody got their hand up too.
This is Christina. We are the COC. We were not involved with this. We were not included with this. Why not have the LEC vote for it? Because we are not the LEC. We were clearly left out of this process and not included. Our voices are not being heard. We're not being involved in this process at all. Your comments on how it's being developed by a full range of whatever is not us. We're not involved with that full range of anything. We're not included at all. And that just so disappoints me. We are left out of this process totally. We are ignored in this process. And I find that so offensive. This was not even like the old COC, which I've been to some of those meetings. They were involved. We are not even involved, which just disgusts me. Point blank disgusts me. If you need a vote, bring it to the LEC. Have them vote on it instead of us, because apparently that's where you're getting all your information from, not us.
I would like to invite the members of the AC who are in the subcommittee for the NOFO and the SNOFO to talk about your experiences. We have standing weekly meetings on Fridays at 8 a.m. that are open to all of the members.
Excuse me, again, I'm going to interrupt you. I volunteered to come to those meetings. I have never been brought in. So I don't want to hear about that either, because I have volunteered in person at the KCRHA office and never got brought in. Never.
So I would like to step in for a moment. It is true that the work group has met on Fridays. Several members who are here today have taken part and have been part of the process since it started. I hear what it is you're saying, and as Shanae pointed out, we will be collecting all of that and addressing it within another meeting, a special session that will simply address our board and how it works. So I want to hand it back off to Kelsey. And
I want to step in. I want to step in and say that, you know, anytime somebody has a question or feels offended, there you go again to negate it and push it off to another meeting unimportant and not acknowledge this body right here, right now. Okay. And I don't know what makes you think that it's okay to do that to her, to me, to anyone.
Shanae? Shanae? Is Shanae
Did
still on the
you
phone?
guys hear me? Because I don't know if I was on mute or not.
We heard you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Is
Shanae's
Shanae
sharing.
here,
still on the
sorry.
call?
Yes, I am.
Could you please respond to that?
So I was in the bathroom, sorry. So I'm not
No worries.
responding to anything. That's why I wasn't on camera. I was using the bathroom.
No worries. I offered that we had discussed having an executive session and a meeting so we could clear all of our concerns as a board in that
Oh
meeting.
yeah, everybody needs to show up. Because at that meeting, me and Marvin will be taking comments, questions, compliments, concerns, right? Everything. And I mean everything that you guys have ever told us, emailed us, talked to us one-on-one. We want, right? Because what happened was Mark and some implementation board members, as well as Seattle Times and another media person reached out to certain members here, including myself, asking to have meetings and wanted us to talk to them and things. So in regards to reporter, I let them know that I was not comfortable in speaking on behalf of my board without getting confirmation from my board that they wanted me to speak, number one. And then what was I supposed to speak about? And I said the same thing to Mark and the implementation board people that asked as well. There was some talk about them meeting with you guys as individuals one-on-one. And I asked them to hold off on that as well, because me and Marvin want to make sure that we capture everything that everybody has ever wanted to say to them and make sure our voices is heard. And I didn't think it was equitable to pick and choose individuals, right? When we were a group making these decisions, that after we had met with everybody, we would, that we had decided, right, to write that letter and dictate what we wanted it to say to them. And that we will be willing to meet after that. And then if people wanted to engage in one-on-one conversations representing themselves or whatever we had agreed to as a board, then that would be appropriate. But to ask the board members and stuff to show up individually now, it puts some people at a disadvantage. Some people are not trustworthy of those conversations, things like that. And so our in regards to what we had talked about a couple weeks ago as the board is like compiling all that together and then presenting that as the front of like, we're not going to be your check the boxes people. We're not just here filling seats to make you look good. This is what we need. This is what we want. This is what we desire. This is what we request. This is what we have to have in order for us to move forward as a board. We're not going to be budging on that, right? Because that's what I heard, that people were even willing to sacrifice voting on the SNOFO and the NOFO to have our voices heard. And so I've let it be very clear that this is the one and only chance that they're going to get to correct their actions, because we've made these complaints the entire time I've been here. And we want to see action. And so I asked Marvin to ask everyone to show up again to one meeting so we can all, again, write it down, document it. I can even quote people if that's what they would prefer, or leave it anonymous, however that is. And you guys know me. I'm going to go in there as a power force and be like, this is what they need. This is what they want. And that's that. And I'm not going to take no for an answer, right? I never have. I never will. I'll push back, you know, representing you guys, because I personally am tired of my own stuff not being answered, but then as a co-chair of this, it's just overwhelming, right? Of the experiences that everybody's had individually or as a group as a whole. That's all.
And
If you have questions for me, that's fine.
I don't know the order of hands up. So if I'm stepping on somebody once that was up before me, go ahead. If I'm not, I'll say that not Ben, but Kim, somebody named Kim was contacted by Jonathan Hempel to talk to us about us not voting on the NOFO, and has been harassing me and other people for an interview, of which I finally told him to stop texting me because I'm not going to do it. I'm not throwing Mark under the bus for anybody. I'm just not into it. And what they're trying to do is make it look like King County Regional Homeless Authority is not doing something right because Mark is the CEO, and of course, and blame him for all the white supremacy and racist practices that have continued, you know, and I'm just not throwing any of us under the bus. One last thing I will say is that myself, Jonathan Hempel, Christina Satchowitz, I hope I said your last name right, are all former founding members of the LEC, have either been terminated or resigned from the LEC because of issues within the LEC. Okay, so nothing is perfect here. There are new people that are in our places at the LEC right now. Okay, and I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff going on. However, I will never throw anyone under the bus. I am willing to struggle with people and work the stuff out. But some of the stuff has got to stop, and we've got to have a place. And I agree with Christina when she talks about this being our board and other people making all of our decisions, and we're just puppets here to vote. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
So I just want to address the question in the chat. Reverend Kelly Brown had posted, does anyone need to interview us when this is a public meeting and apparently a rep from the Seattle Times is among us? I will tell you that I did tell the people who reached out to me that we do have public meetings and that we as a board can't stop them from coming. And if they wanted information, then they should show their faces here and ask questions, comments, and concerns here. You know, we have open public, right? And so throughout any time in our meetings, we have offered not only during the time set forth of 10 minutes, but at any time during our meetings, we ask that public just raise their hand and we will listen to their concerns, comments, questions, and complaints. So I offered that, Kelly, and I don't know if that's happened, but just as you said, it's a public meeting. So if you want to know something, then you should be showing up in the spaces where you don't have to be invited, that it's for everyone.
Yeah, and with regards to like the relationship between like the COC and the LEC and like other boards of like lived experience, I think that it's really important to bring it to this space that the Youth Action Board has had like a standing relationship with like All Home and has tried to have a relationship with the KCRHA, but we were let know, or the KCRHA let us know that they are planning on working with the LEC to create a new Youth Action Board, regardless of the relationship that we've tried to form with them. So that feels like a disempowerment of youth and young adult voice, and to see things playing out here with the advisory committee kind of being stepped on in favor of the LEC makes me really worried about the precedent that that sets. And I really hope that that doesn't go forward. And I hope that we can work together to keep that from being the case.
Because I'm going to ask you to put that down right for our meeting, that we can present that exact thing to Mark when we meet, right? Because that's what we need to hear.
Yeah, and we had, so two of our strong Youth Action Board members, Santhi and then Savvy, recently got full-time positions with the KCRHA, and now I know that their involvement with our Youth Action Board is like in jeopardy, like whether they are allowed to like contribute to anything within, I believe, the 9 to 6 hours, Monday through Friday, or just in general, given like their positionality, and then I guess any sort of conflict of interest with our board. So yeah, we definitely feel like our membership is being compromised, and then also our relationship with the COC is being compromised. So I really hope that this, like, one, doesn't happen to the YAB, and two, I hope that it doesn't set precedent for what might happen to the advisory committee.
Thank you. We have a question. Anonymous attendee says, as an attendee, I appreciate the invitation to provide comment, but the meeting materials were never properly posted for this meeting. And in parentheses, it says, and this isn't the first time, which makes it very hard to engage the content of the meeting. I want to acknowledge that attendee, that this board has that same complaint, that we have requested and actually amended our charter to state that any votes or documents that we need to review need to be given to our board members 7 to 10 days in advance. I will also remind that the law states that because of this meeting, it has to be posted online at least 24 hours in advance. So I can check into that personally to see, there might be somebody here on the call that can address why that wasn't done. But that is the expectation, right? That the public is known at least 24 hours. It's supposed to be posted with the agenda. And then for at least this board as a whole, including the SNOFO funding, that's why you hear Jen say we gave it to you last week, because we have made it very clear that we needed 7 to 10 days for people to have adequate time to review, read, process, come up with their questions, comments, and concerns for those things. And I hear you when it says it hasn't been met, because here we are as board members and it hasn't been met for us as well. And we do feel rushed and unprepared for these meetings and voting sessions. So I really hear you, and our board members, myself included, all have that same sentiment of like, it's not enough time. We need to be informed to make proper decisions. Thank you for that.
Sorry, this is Tamara. I just wanted to step in while I still had the thought on my mind that it might be helpful for me to share my experience in that I have been attending. I don't think I've missed a single meeting, and I've been part of, when we were deciding on which subcommittees to join, I signed up for all of them, but I only attended like 2 of them. And based on that, my ability to develop relationship and, collaboration with the KCRHA team on those subcommittees, I am definitely seeing a lot of our concerns and a lot with regard to like helping homeless folks experiencing homelessness get housing. I see a lot of our feedback reflected in the documents that we're reviewing. I see a lot of our, the best efforts to answer our concerns and to be responsive to our needs. But a lot of the stuff is being dictated by the federal government. Like the short timelines is a HUD dictated thing. And so I definitely understand the frustration on both KCRHA side on the lack of attendance by some of the COC board members, and then the lack of seeming dysfunction, on the KCRHA side. We have to all remember that both this COC board and the KCRHA are brand new entities. We are doing work in a completely different way than we've ever done. And so it's going to be a lengthy process to kind of develop that trust, to develop a sense of unity. So while I definitely support and hear my peers, and I love and respect all of you, I just want us to keep in mind that we're all on the same side. We're working towards the same goal. And it's not helpful if we start, backbiting. I'm not saying that that's happening now, but I could see that if we're continue on this trajectory of discontentment, I think we need to hear each other out, and this executive session is going to be very critical to that. Also, I think whenever we talk to the media, we need to be very clear about how they represent folks experiencing homelessness. The media has been notoriously bad at its portrayal of people living in unsheltered, areas. And so to anybody who's on this call that represents the media, I ask that you respect and be clear about how you represent our people who are living in tents, on the streets, in their cars. It is not a choice. So that's my ask to the public.
Thank you, Tamara.
And I am highly offended that I see now that Greg Kim, the person who's been texting me, is here. I had no idea he was here until somebody just said it. And I didn't know that he had a right to be here, because I thought this was a special side meeting from our monthly meeting. And I did not know that he could just show up here and record everything we are saying.
So Peter, do you or Marvin want to speak to that part? Why people are allowed to be here and do what they do? And then Christina, I do see your hand, and Christina, I see yours as well.
So I would simply add that this is a public meeting. When we meet to take action, it's a public meeting. We always invite comments and feedback, and that's why we have an agenda that we try to stick to so that we get our work accomplished, and we set up other ways to work together to fix what it is we're looking to do and how we want to move
Yeah,
forward.
to communicate off of public comment, right? So then it's not documented and
Correct.
they can't exploit us, right? Use us. As Tamara said, speak disgustingly about us, right? And I say us because I'm currently experiencing homelessness, so I'm speaking us because I live that life. And so just addressing that, it is a public meeting. We are inclusive to that. And I expect people to show up. What I don't expect is to be taken advantage of in these situations when people's vulnerability is being heard and listened to and their voice is being heard, and you take it and make it into something to benefit yourself. Thank you, Marvin.
That's a
ahead.
good point. To explain when the public can be here and when the public can be here, because correct me if I'm wrong, Marvin, it's only when we're talking when the executive meeting is closed and it's personnel issues, correct?
Correct.
Is the only time it can be
Yes.
closed. Otherwise, all of our meetings, all of our committees will be open to the public and should be posted by law on the website. So keeping that in mind, unless it's something about a personnel issue, it will always be open.
Correct. Thank you. Christy, you want to go?
You know I do. Thank you, Shanae. Been sitting here
Yeah.
baking in the sun. Yeah, thank you, dear.
You're good.
I appreciate everybody's comments so far. I only had one thing to say. Now I have about 4 things to say. First of all, I did let Mr. Kim know about this meeting today, as it is a public meeting, and I did know that the parameters of a public meeting is that anybody is welcome, even journalists. No pun intended, no harm, no foul. And the one good thing that came out of this is that apparently Mr. Kim did reach out to several of the board members. And if you notice, all of us said no, that we wouldn't discuss this privately with him. So if you think about it, we closed ranks as a board. So yay for us, no matter what kind of
Absolutely.
issues we have, right? No matter what kind of issues that we have, we voted unanimously to act as a board. I did reach out to Tamara and Ben, got their feedback rather than going off in a huff, because our meetings, as you know, always get off agenda and they always get off track. There is a solution for that, and that is that we can have planning meetings just like the other committees do, just like the evaluation board, the implementation board, the governance board. We have planning meetings that are closed. That's allowable. If it's not, we can change our charter to include those planning meetings, which is just for us, the board members. Why we don't do that now, I don't know. Secondly, Shanae, you talked about having an executive meeting. I don't agree with you just having an executive meeting with all our complaints. I'd like us as a board to be all involved in that. So I would like some more
So I
address with
apologize
that.
if that's how that came off. That is not
Okay.
my intention. I meant to
Okay.
gather our thoughts on one paper, right, and one document, and have that agenda ready so that when we do meet with Mark and these other people from the implementation board, that we again are all on the same page, like you're saying, and we're all speaking that same language
Okay.
with the same outcome of what we would like. And I
Okay.
apologize if
Thank
that
you.
was not clear.
No,
It would not
thank
be
you
by
for clearing that
myself
up.
or just Marvin.
Right.
That has been a
Thank you.
challenge that has been brought up, is that people feel like there's secret meetings or meetings that are happening that not all
No.
board members are informed or inclusive on. And so with this, we hope to include everybody,
Okay.
at least as
Do you
an
understand what I'm
invitation.
saying though? Do you understand
Absolutely.
what I'm saying though about a planning meeting?
Yes.
Every board and every committee, we have them for our system performance committee. We have planning meetings that just involves the committee members. Then we also have meetings where the public is invited for public comment, public
No,
agenda.
I think that's
That
a
is
great
definitely,
idea.
I do too. So let's bring that up so we can resolve this, because this is where the emotion needs to happen. This is where what's wrong needs to be brought out, not at public meetings where our agendas never get met, because we have a year's worth of unmet agendas. So we have everything piled up. Right now, we're here
Correct.
today. The business at hand is to vote on the SNOFO. I am, in the comments, I put that my business today is to vote on the SNOFO. I do vote yes. So if my business here is completed, I've given you my suggestion about having a planning meeting. Thank you for clarifying what you meant about that. I agree with other people's comments. The one other thing I'd like to say, I too disagree that LEC and COC, there's not a lot of love there. We need to work on that relationship. I was invited to the LEC meeting after making a request for that last week. I was invited 4 minutes before the meeting occurred today. I need a little more lead time than that. I did write an email to the person who invited me requesting an email. I did it respectfully, but you know how I can get sometimes. So we need to keep communicating, keep communicating, keep communicating. And as Tamara pointed out, we are all on the same team. We all want the same thing. We all want to see our people get housed. We want to see you get housed. We want to see the right thing. And so we are a work in progress. We're brand new, but we are here for the same function. And I believe in that. So if you are, if you feel anything like I do, and right now I don't know about you, but my tummy's churning and I got a pretty strong tummy. I'd like to say yes, Kelsey and Jen, thank you for working on the SNOFO. My vote is yes as an advisory board member, and I would like to log off now. Catherine, can you go ahead and log my vote as yes?
So as per our charter, Christine, you know that's not how it works, right? We have to create a motion, we have to ask and second that, and then take a vote. And so I'm
Okay,
hoping
then
to
I'll
do
stay
that
on.
within the, yeah, please just
Great. If
bear
we
with
can
us
get,
for a
if we
couple
can
more
get,
minutes, right?
if we can get back onto the business at hand,
Yes.
you bet, I will stay
I
on.
just want to
Thank you.
take the last comment from Ben. His hand is up, and then I
Thank
would
you.
like to get back on track to our agenda. Because that's, you know, that's what we're here for today. And I again, but I do want to acknowledge and validate everybody's feelings, the emotions, the upsetness, the frustrations, like we hear it. And again, I'm hoping that we can come up with a solution. Now, I just don't want to come up with a document that we draft an agenda to present and we are not solution focused, right? So as much as we want to voice our concerns and our comments and question the behaviors and actions or lack thereof, I also want us to be thinking of solutions on how to remedy the barriers and, you know, ends of the consequences that we've had to face in this last year, right? So please be thinking of that too. Like I hear the complaint like, oh, we're not getting stuff. So what's some of the solutions? What are some suggestions that we can give back to KCRHA that will help us be better and help them be better at communicating and getting the things done as well? Ben?
Thank you. I was going to say something similar. We have very real concerns and grievances, and I'm happy that there is a plan to continue having that conversation and to see how we can make some progress there. But I think that we also, you know, we had talked about linking our concerns to the SNOFO. I keep coming back actually, as I've been thinking about this over the past week, to the story of Solomon. I worry that if we link the two together, it's not enough time for us to really go through our concerns and get them addressed. And we risk $12.5, $13 million for really good programs. And, you know, perhaps there's something to be said that through, you know, improvements that we want to bring to the process, that maybe a slightly different mix of programs could have been slightly better. But these programs that have been chosen are good and they will help people. And we risk losing that money for our community, which doesn't in any way invalidate the importance of these concerns and our grievances and moving forward on those. So I feel like we should move forward on the SNOFO and then continue with the next meeting, or the next part of the meeting that Marvin had planned to talk about the other pieces. I guess so. I would ask: Are we ready to move for a vote? Is that Marvin? I'll defer to you if you feel like that's time for that.
You can motion for a vote.
Okay.
If folks don't want to hear more from the presenters, if they think they have a good, they feel good about what they've heard so far. So is that a motion?
Yeah, unless anyone has any other last comments, I would move to vote.
I second.
On the
I
measure before
second
us.
that, Ben.
whatever the fancy words are that we use. Move
Make
to
a motion to move on the vote to
vote the
accept the
thing
no vote.
forward. Yeah.
There you go. I second it.
All righty, it's been moved in second. Catherine, will you do a roll? Will you do a
Do
roll
you want to
call?
do all in favor first?
Actually, for
Vote has
events
to be
like
taken
this,
as a roll call. I am preparing to call. I'm just bringing up the document. One moment, please. Okay, so Tamara Bowman,
Aye.
Reverend Dr. Kelly Brown,
Aye.
Lise Castro,
Aye.
Shanae Colston. Shanae,
Yeah, I'm here. I vote yes.
thank you. Marvin Cottrell,
I vote yes.
Christy Hamilton,
Aye.
Benjamin Mish,
Aye.
Noreen Heel, Oneida. Not here. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Christina S. Christina. Karen Taylor. Karen Taylor.
Oh, aye, but I want to hear from Christina.
I was going to come back to her. Sherry Tillman.
Here. I. Sorry.
Christina S. Are you available for your vote?
She doesn't appear to she doesn't appear to still be on the panel. Sorry.
Okay. Karen Taylor, do you affirm your vote or no?
Yes, I
Thank
said
you.
aye.
Thank you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With 9 yays, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, the vote carries and the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for
Appreciate your
everyone for
guys' time and assistance and help. And just, the unconditional positive regard and showing grace for each of us as individuals, as well as what we do day to day. And that we are all in this together, right? Nobody's here thinking that you're by yourself, that this is a group effort. And I just appreciate you all.
Note that Marisol's note.
Yeah, Catherine, could you call Marisol, who joined the panel in the midway in the discussion?
Sure, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and acknowledge. I've acknowledged Marisol Hopper's presence. Marisol, are you voting yay or nay for the snowfall?
Yay.
Thank you very much. So that is a correction with 10 yays, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. The motion carries and the vote is approved.
I think we used to go do it all over again if you really want to follow the rules.
Thank you, Catherine. Thanks everyone for joining us today. For all the board members, Shanae and I will get out a notice for planning meeting.
Yes, thank you, Marvin. Yes,
You're welcome.
I'm all ears.
Yes.
It'd be good for us to go forward. Kelsey, Jen, thank you. Take a vacation. We'll see you in a month after you come back from Hawaii with tans. Look how pale you are. Bye, thank you.
all. Thank you all so very
Thank you,
much.
Shanae.
That concludes our meeting. Catherine?
Okay, I will
Yeah.
end the meeting.
Oh, before you, okay, yes, in the meeting.